scene I'm doing. Okay, first of all, we have web objects. And there's a whole bunch of things you can do here, including add a video screen so it plays a video like a TV. You can add an image into the page. You can even make it with highlights going over them. You can add smoke just by clicking on it. Now you got something that smokes. You can add a flag, a tree. There's different objects in here that we've created. There's also Babylon file. This is the extension I needed to show you. You can create things with full-on Babylon files. First thing you do is you select the 3D object you're working with. It's going to take you to your media, to your media library. And in that media library, you can upload a Babylon file and all the associated files that go with it. Then you can also turn on animations. And what I'm going to show you is, let's see, I'm going to pick, there's one, let me see, okay, we're going to go with Cat Mac this time. And I'm going to select that, and now he draws a little cat. And he's facing the other direction, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate him. Let's rotate him 180 degrees so he's facing us. Okay, and I can always adjust that a little bit less, a little bit more. I'm going to make him where he's over here this way. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make him bigger. I'm going to make this one big cat. We're going to go 5 by in all 3 directions. So now I've scaled him onto the page. Now we have a great big cat on the screen. I'm going to lower him so he's standing on the ground. And I think it's 0.5. The bottom piece is a full 1 unit thick. Oh, just so you know, the conversion of units, 1 unit in here is technically about 6 inches, so a half of a foot. So if I want it to be 1 foot, I just double whatever number I see here. So if I'm doing a 10 by 10, I'm doing a 5-foot square. Okay? That gives you a little bit of reference of how to build things, what size the avatars are, if a 6-foot person's going to be able to walk through your door. It gives you a little bit of thing. I try to keep it nice and rounded. Later on, I'll add it where you can select it to metric and you can select it to standard, for all of us USA people that couldn't understand how to do metric. Okay, so I've added this cat in the scene. Now, one of the things that the cat has, and let me go back in here one more time, is notice under that cat, I've uploaded all the various files, and you can include your manifest file. I put a copy of my Blender files just because I want to be able to pull them back up later on, make changes and stuff. So I kind of like leaving them all in one place. And then I have various images that go with it. The other part that I've done is I have an animation attached to it. From here, I can create a name for an animation, call it anything I want, and the reason for doing that is I can actually call it from other JavaScript code and run this animation on this object. So you can name them so that you can call them and use them in your code too. The other part is the JavaScript event. Now in here, currently I'm doing onload. You can do on load, you can do on click, you can do on toggle so that if you click it once it does one thing, if you click it a second time it does something else. You can also do on mouse over and mouse out. And then notice I also have a bunch of avatar movement commands. So you can set it to be your idle position when it's not moving. You can set it to be your walk backwards. Everything that I have set up as an avatar, you can tie into these to be those commands. So if I move forward, it's going to move forward. We're working on that. It's getting there. But notice you can tie it to the events now, and then they're tied up to the events of the user when they work. Okay, so in this particular case, I'm using onload because it's not an avatar. I'm using the section for just straight animations. If you have a mesh name, this is the object that you had in Blender. And notice, I'm going to show you in Blender. So I have Blender, I have this cat, and just to show you, I have this cat. I downloaded him, so thank you for the cat from, I'll post some websites later on of where you can get some free and royalty-free items and also pay for enhanced items as you like it. There's a really cool site. I'll have to look it up, but I'll make sure it gets posted so everybody can see it. Okay, so I've added some bones in here. Notice I've added the bones, and then I animated this cat. So he basically can move around, and he does a little bit of, cat-like movements. And in the armature, each part is a different name. So for example, spine 1. If I wanted to move an animation on just that object, I can actually come in here, name the object, and then tell it to apply that animation. Now the start frame, end frame, when you export as a Babylon file from Blender, it will put them all into one serial animation. So you'll need to look in that file and it tells you which object you're doing. So if it's a particular animation that you want to run and it includes multiple bones, you can pick that. If it has a certain bone you want to move or object that you're moving, you can pick those by name and put in the mesh. In my case, I don't need to say it. I just need to do the start frame and end frame of that whole, because it's more than one bone. For that whole set that I want to move, I need it to go from 1 to 480. And notice that is from 1 to 480 is my frame set on this animation. If I'm bringing it up a little higher, you can see. Notice it is 480 all the way over, and that's my complete cycle that I'm running for the frame. And notice if I click play, he'll sit here and do this in the screen. You know, it's to the best of my animation ability, so of course people that are better at animating are going to make them do what they want them to do. This is the speed that is natural that I set it up to work and everything else. Okay, so that's the animation, that's the number of frames, and the export file, like I said, does all that stuff. You can tell it if you want it to loop so that it doesn't stop after doing it once. And then I also have some advanced options, and you can set the original speed. 1 is the original speed ratio. You can set it faster, slower, whatever you want it to do. You can also tell it if it's not looping, you can tell it when it ends to do a different JavaScript, a different animation, or a different script. And there's also parameters on that. The other thing is you can also select a sound. So when this runs, I can have the cat purring, for example. All I have to do is click select sound, and I can also tell it how far you can hear the sound from that distance. Get into that later on, but for now I'm just going to say cancel. I don't want to change anything on this. I just want to use this animation in the scene. So I'm just going to close my media library back off. I have him in there, and now when I save this, okay, and it's, like I said, it's beta. I'm not done coding this section, so you actually have to reload the scene, which I'm just going to do a refresh on the page. When I'm done, you won't have to. It'll automatically kick off the animation as soon as you click the button. It's in progress. Okay, so now notice my cat over here is animated. He's walking around, he's moving his head and doing the different things. Okay, so I've animated a cat on the scene, and it came directly from Blender. So it's that easy to add objects into 3D browsing. Okay, so we've got an animated cat. Another thing I can do, and this is kind of cool, I can pick an object. I'm going to go back to that original egg. Oh, and just so you know, all I'm doing is right-clicking on the mouse, and it selects that object and opens up all the properties for it. Another thing I'm doing is if I move the roller ball, the scroll wheel on my mouse, it makes the guy walk backwards and forwards. If I hold down the left mouse button and I move the mouse, it will turn the direction you're going. You can look up and down. You can look left and right. Now also you can use keyboards. So you can use the arrows on your keyboard to turn left, turn right, go forward, go backwards. You can hold down shift and he'll run. You can use the WASD keys to do everything running around that direction for all the gamers out there that, you know, I want to make it as comfortable and as easy going as you can on that. I added, if you hold down R, you can look up, and if you hold down F, which happens to just be right next to the other keys, you can look up and down. A and D will strafe, so you can do your strafe walking or strafe running. And also Q and E will rotate. So within a very short distance of using those WASD keys, there's some other couple connecting keys. Later on we'll throw in where you can jump with the spacebar and stuff. I've already got it on the plans, it's in my notes. So very cool, you will get all the full commands of your avatar. Okay, so now that I'm editing this, one of the advanced options that we have is I can assign a sound to that image. So everybody, let's put on our Let's put on our sound. Let me turn on my desktop sound here. Make sure you can hear it. Because of course, what good is me telling you about sound if you can't hear it? Okay, sound is turned on. Now, what happens is I can come over here and I can say, okay, attach sound. First, I want to decide, do I want it to be linear or exponential of when you hear it? So I'm going to go with linear to start. And it's also going to loop the sound so it will repeat. I can set the maximum distance that I can hear it from that particular object. So if you have a concert that you're designing and you have musicians playing on the stage and you want to blast out their music, well then by all means set that thing to 1,000 and you'll be able to hear it for quite a distance away. If you want to work where you walk inside the store and you hear something, set it about 100 or 200. Okay, so that's a couple different designs. Right now I have it set for 100. I'm going to select a sound, and once again it shows me my media library, and I can come in here and I'm going to click on violins. And the first thing, we hear violins. And when I walk closer, and I walked right into the egg, and there we are, we can hear the sound. Notice that there is on the site, there is a mute, so you can turn off and on sounds at a touch. The other part is, as I walk backwards, it is getting quieter until I get to about 100 away, and it disappears. The other thing is, this is stereo sound, which means when I'm walked over here and I rotate, it's now playing in my left ear because it's on the left side of me. And if I rotate the other way, it's now in my right ear, and I can hear it in my right ear. So it's designed to be three-dimensional sound from wherever you place it. Now, isn't that cool that all you have to do is attach it to any one object in a screen? You just have to say, I want this object to be playing music. Now, can you picture, I can have a ceiling fan that as you walk up on it, you can hear the ceiling fan. I can have it be windy on the tree and have the leaves play a sound whenever they blow in the wind. And yet you only hear it when you're close enough to that tree. So this is all three-dimensional sound that you can add at just the click and selecting the file that you want it to use. Okay, pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Let's get those thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, so going on from there, let's see where else